When we opened the Penn Vet Working Dog Center, we were really focused on the capacity of dogs to use their noses to detect important things. And mostly we were thinking about search and rescue because of our origins in 9/11. And in our original presentation, we gave the projection that someday we might even be able to use dogs to help us detect different kinds of diseases. And in that realm was the detection of cancer. We were approached by a physician who had a vested interest in ovarian cancer because of a family history, and she really wanted to try and move things forward, having read a study that was done in Sweden that showed that dogs had the capacity to detect an odor associated with ovarian cancer. Is there something in the blood of a person with ovarian cancer that can give us an indication that they have ovarian cancer? Well, we know that there is a volatile organic compound. That's a chemical. It has a chemical nature, there's a chemical formula, and you should potentially be able to measure that. But in the blood, there are thousands and thousands of chemicals. We took the approach with the dogs because of the previous studies that had suggested that indeed the dogs are able to differentiate. And what we find is that the dogs can sort of clear out the background much easier than the machines can. And the level of sensitivity is, they can go very, very low. And I think originally when we started, we thought, oh, there's gonna be a chemical that tells us it's ovarian cancer. Well, we've rethought that, and now we think more it's a fingerprint. One of the areas that we're really excited about in the cancer field is moving on to dogs helping dogs, and that is our hemangiosarcoma study. Hemangiosarcoma is another silent killer. It's a deadly disease of dogs, a very common cancer, particularly in our working dog breeds, and it comes on suddenly. The dog may be fine one day and the next day they're collapsed, and it's devastating.
It is, they call it the silent killer because it's really hard to diagnose. It's a cancer that affects the blood vessels, and so it gets in and it creates these large tumors that they're really hard to detect. And so the problem is that the dog appears really healthy, and then all of a sudden that tumor will rupture. And so it has a really low survival rate once diagnosed. Dogs usually don't live past 3 to 6 months, even with aggressive chemotherapy. But most dogs don't even get that opportunity. Like once you've found it and it's ruptured, there's nothing you can do. And so that's part of the reason that we chose hemangiosarcoma to start with. We really think it's an important one to find early diagnostic tests for, and so our work here is trying to find better ways to screen for it so that we can help. There's just really not much work on dogs detecting other dog cancer or proving that there is a volatile organic compound profile for canine cancer. And so we presume that there would be, but again, that work simply hasn't been done. And the only other work that was done on dogs looked at cancers in general. It wasn't being specific to hemangiosarcoma. And so we're starting with hemangiosarcoma because it's one of the most important cancers to look at in dogs.
We have been collecting samples from dogs with cancer and dogs without cancer. Dogs that have signs that might be, it looks like it might be cancer, but it turns out they don't have cancer, which is really important because especially when they come in the emergency room and they maybe are internally bleeding or their spleen is enlarged, we need to know, is there a way we can tell, is this cancer, is this something else? And so we have over 1,000 samples now from all over. We have a number of partners that we're working with, and we're about to start teaching the dogs that this is the sample that we're interested in and these are the samples that we need to ignore. So we're really excited to sort of test, can the dogs do this? We believe that they can because they seem to be able to do it for every other disease, but you never know until you try.
The kind of work we do at the center, you really see immediate and tangible future impact on so much of what we do. And with ovarian cancer, it's the same, like we're working to demonstrate this odor difference so that we can build a diagnostic tool that can actually be used for this early diagnostic purpose that's so important. We just let the dogs tell us if there's a difference or not. And because I worked in hearing, I'm really used to being able to perceive the stimuli myself. You know, I'm making all sorts of auditory files, and I listen to them, and then I play them for the dogs, and I know what they're listening to. And here I just have to kind of give in and let them tell us what the answer is.
Any kind of cancer that we're dealing with, early detection is critical. With women, ovarian cancer is one of, I believe, the top 5 cancers, and it is just devastating. The survival, if they are, stage 3 or 4, is 5 years. That's not tenable. We can do better than that. We have to do better than that. In the ovarian cancer, we've been able to show that the dogs can detect an odor associated with ovarian cancer, and they can even detect it when it's stage 1, which is the really early stage, and that's the stage we want to find it at. It's still, there's so much that the dogs have ahead of all of our technology that the technology still needs to catch up. But we will get there. We will be able to complement the dogs. We will maybe never be as good as the dogs, but if we can get close, then that's going to save a lot of lives.